Today is National Voter Registration Day. I actually have volume. Let's talk to black men. Let's talk to black men and about black men as well. I guess it is kind of both. But because I've had some experiences recently where I've been able to hear directly from black men, I think it's really important that on a day like National Voter Registration Day, we should talk about this topic. Over the weekend, I was at the Congressional Black Caucus. I was at the Congressional Black Caucus's annual legislative conference, and I went to the panels were amazing. I personally felt like the substance of the panels this year was better than last year. I don't know if it's because people are aware of what's at stake. I don't know what it is, but I just thought the panels, they did a superb job. And I went to a panel on black men and voting, and Cliff Albright was on there, and I told myself to write down the names of the other people. I didn't. Sorry. It was some dope brothers in the room. It was one of the panels sponsored by the Brothers of Omega Phi, of course. It was a great event. Packed room, jam-packed room, young men, old men, and a lot of women who were there mainly to listen and observe, right? I didn't say anything in these spaces because I wanted to hear from the brothers what it is that they think is important about this election, because what we always talk about is the fact that black women, yes, number one voting bloc for the Democrats, and black men are number two. We often forget that part. We do this fake conversation where it's like, are black men going to go for Republicans? No, they're not. Okay, and we know that they're not because they're not stupid. They're very intelligent, and we're not going to fall for the okie doke. But there are still questions about the effectiveness of outreach to our community. And I just want to say that black men and black women are the number one and number two voting blocs for Democrats, not because we stand Democrats. To be clear, but because we know that it's the one party of the two major parties that is not trying to proactively kill us. Right now, that could change because we ain't permanent with any group. Right? We ain't got no permanent friends in this situation. We have seen before because during the slavery days, the Democratic Party was a party of enslavers. So this ain't to say we permanent besties. Right? We ain't married. But for right now, we rocking with the Democrats because they are the party that, as compared to the other party, have policies that are most in line with what it is that we say that we need. They're not trying to kill us. Now, are they doing what we all need them to do? Absolutely not. It's like, and I say this all the time, the Democrats are like cold molasses moving uphill on a very cold day. It's very slow moving. Like they very, very slow. But they're not proactively trying to kill us, and they have a vision for this country that actually includes equity. So that matters. Anyway, I went to the CBC, and I'm at this panel, and there was a lot of good conversation about what black men need to hear and how they need to hear it. So the question for today is, brothers out there in the audience, both in Instagram, well, not really Instagram because y'all don't be calling in, but SiriusXM 866-801-8255. What is it that you need to hear from the political parties on today, National Voter Registration Day, to help you get other brothers engaged, right? So last night, building off of that, I went to this event with the Working Families Party. Shout out to the Working Families Party. Y'all know I don't do third parties except the Working Families Party. And I ride with the Working Families Party every single election because they have candidates every single election that they run at the local level, they run at the state level, and they run in ways that are effective. They push policy. You don't just see them show up like Jill Stein every 4 years for the presidential. They actually do things. They pass legislation. They do things. So last night, I'm at this event with the Working Families Party. I just want to say shout out to Sarita Oglesby, Ty Allen, all the amazing people who came together, put this thing together. It was so freaking dope. And it was at my boy's gallery, Richard Beavers. I didn't realize it was going to be there till I showed up. He got a wonderful gallery in Soho in addition to the one in Bedford-Stuyvesant. So shout out to Richard Beavers. But it was an amazing event. Had a lot of elected officials there, which, I'm kind of like, okay, what the election's going to say. And what it had, it was just like there were Wyclef Jean was there. Mano was there. It was a number of hip hop artists. So it was just a well curated, positive conversation. And one of the things that they did was they were talking about Project 2025. And which was phenomenal because we got to talk about it. And the idea was to have influencers in this space who would be able to think critically about how we move our people to get more civically engaged. And so towards the end of the conversation, and microphones going on. And I'm not asking, I had raised my hand. I had some things I wanted to say, but I didn't get the microphone. So I'm like, all right, it's fine, whatever. I'm not going to chase the mic. I raised my hand. If I can get the mic, cool. Didn't get the mic. Mano, I think I'm saying his name correctly. That's it, right? So Mano poses a question. And after Wyclef had gave this wonderful, conversation about, why we vote in the Senate, it was just really good. Angie Martinez was hosting. It was really, really good. Attorney General Tish James, she was on the panel rocking it out. It was really good. But Mano asked this question after all this good content, all this good conversation. And Mano asked a question that made me realize, This was a powerful conversation. This was amazing content, but we were speaking lawyer speak. The conversation wasn't what he could take back to his people, like to his guys, his friends, and his community in a way that was going to easily translate. And so he's basically like, what am I supposed to tell my guys back home? Like, I'm hearing what's being said. And he was very respectful. So this is not at all, there's no shade. It was a perfect question. And he's basically like, I hear what y'all saying. I hear the fears about Project 2025, but I just need to know, what do I tell my guys back at the barbershop? I just need, basically, like, I don't need all these lawyer talk. Like, give it to me quick. Give it to me simple, which is exactly what we're, as advocates, are supposed to be doing. Don't nobody want to hear me talking lawyer talk. That's why I be using all these different voices and shit to keep y'all engaged. Because, like, it's complicated, right? So Assemblymember Walker, she's sitting right next to me. Shout out to Assemblymember Latrice Walker. She had the microphone. She gets up and she starts talking about today, Tuesday. She's like, tomorrow is National Voter Registration Day. And then she says what she has to say. She sits down, but she's still holding the mic. And she gives me this kind of look and she shoves the mic into my hand. Now, I don't have permission to speak. But Latrice Walker shoves the microphone in my hand. She's like, I know you got something to say. She shoves the microphone into my hand, and I'm burning, y'all, because I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to violate the space. I don't want to just start talking, But after a minute, I couldn't hold it any longer. So I started to say some things. And I said some things that I think we need to really be mindful of when it comes to how we talk with Black men about these issues. Put it where the ghost can get it. Yes, that's exactly what his sister was trying to do. And so his question was dope. And so he asked about Kamala Harris's record. He asked about all the things that he's hearing. And he's like, how do we know who to trust? How do we know who to believe? Because a lot of the influencers be lying and some of them be paid. And perfect question. So we got to answer it. Kamala Harris, real simple. Before we understood what a progressive prosecutor was, she was considered a progressive prosecutor. All the police reform and criminal legal system reforms that we're working on now, that we expand on, that prevent recidivism, that are going to empower people who are returning citizens to not have to just engage in the same behaviors that sent them away in the first place. She started those things. And it's important that people know that, because her record has been fagazed, because people have been fagazing all about her record. So we were able to talk briefly about that. But then when it comes to the things that she is talking about doing, that Black men, because we often talk about women, but we don't often talk about the policies in terms of Black men. And so when it comes to the ways that her policies and campaigns would impact Black men directly, we know Black men who own barbershops and auto shops and all sorts of businesses and institutions and doing work in tech and AI. They are entrepreneurs. And so when Kamala Harris says that she wants to give a $50,000 tax credit so that we can open businesses, that's benefiting Black men. I know a whole lot of Black men who are business owners. They could benefit from a $50,000 tax credit. When we talk about housing programs, again, we often talk about how it's going to impact women. I know Black men who could use a house, and getting a $25,000 credit to help you with your down payment is going to be huge for Black men who are trying to provide sustainable living conditions for themselves and or their families. When it comes to Black men who love their children, because we know brothers love their kids. Now, we got deadbeats of all races, but Black people should definitely not be the face of the deadbeat father. Thomas Jefferson. And all you raising you children out who are going out here shooting up places, y'all might need to rethink about who you're thinking about when you're talking about bad parents. But we know Black men who love their children. Who would not want a $6,000 tax credit to help in the first year of your child's life? Who would not want to have a monthly tax credit expansion so that you would be able to every single month get resources to be able to help your child? What Black man couldn't benefit from bans and legislation that bans price fixing so that they can get access to rentals that are going to be affordable? What all the Black issues that we got when it comes to healthcare and all the issues we talk about every single Monday with hood medicine, where Black men got prostate cancer, they got diabetes, they got high blood pressure, they got hypertension, all these diseases that we be dying from, that Black men really be dying from. You don't think they could help and benefit from expanded health care? Like, you don't think that we literally in prostate cancer awareness month right now, we got Black men, it feel like every day of this month, another famous Black man has died far too soon. You don't think Black men is going to benefit from health care? Do you know how many of them need health care costs so they don't die prematurely? And when it comes to Project 2025 and Black men, we have to be really clear. They're trying to close down schools so they can close down programs that are rooted in equity. You know who benefits from programs rooted in equity? Black boys. You know who benefits from programs like My Brother's Keeper and after-school programs and programs that are designed to provide counseling and to provide supports for young Black boys who are going through some real shit, who have been oppressed by a system that was intentionally designed not considering their needs in mind. You don't think our boys could benefit from that? And what I'm realizing as I'm saying these things is that we talk so much about these policies as if they only are going to benefit women and children. And that's just not true. But that's our fault, because we ain't talking about it in a way that's going to highlight the many ways that Black men will benefit from what is being provided. And when we talk about what's happening with Project 2025, they're going to eliminate that Department of Education. They're going to eliminate all the programs that our kids, boys and girls, benefit from. They want to end the Affordable Care Act. And your man's Donald Trump ain't got no health care plan. He got a concept of a plan. He got a concept, like it was a concept of an assassination. We'll talk about that later. He got a concept of a plan. He ain't got no plan. And so when we're talking about the fact that under Project 2025, he would have unlimited control to be able to destroy every single civil rights gain that have benefited Black men and Black women. When we're talking about qualified immunity to police, where you are going to give police, like them cops that shot up the subway over $2.90 goddamn cents in New York City, that's a whole other conversation we're going to have. Qualified immunity, giving it to them unlimited, there won't be any investigations. There won't be any charges. And I know that even when we have investigations now, there are 6 million ways, 11 different ways that people can undermine an investigation into an officer who's trying to take our life. But under Project 2025, ain't no rules. It's slave patrols all over again. And so we got to be mindful about that. We got to be able to talk about that in ways that gender it so that brothers can understand the impact to them. Again, this ain't blaming nobody, but as activists and organizers, we have to do better at communicating. And one of the reasons that made this clear is because at that CBC event, there was a back and forth between Cliff Albright and one of the other panelists. And I hate that I can't remember this panelist's name, but the panelist was basically saying, yeah. Kamala Harris going to do this, that, and the other. But what is that going to do for Black men? And then Cliff Albright was like, wait a minute. You don't think Black men could use a house? You don't think Black men could use money to open a business? You don't think Black men could use health care? And so that's what made me realize we have gendered so many of the benefits and the policies that we have forgotten how that sort of approach can really harm our ability to have our community turn out. And so going back to just the Project 2025 aspect of this, because this is what the whole conversation last night with the Work and Family Party was about. When we're talking about what Trump wants, they're going to increase costs by virtually $4,000, $3,900 a year by adding this Trump sales tax, that tariff that he's talking about. That's a tax. We, the people, pay the tax that would increase the cost of goods for families by $3,900. When we're talking about gas, food, clothing, medicine, he's talking about adding the ability to increase rent and add a $1,200 payment per year to our typical the mortgages that we're getting when we're trying to buy houses. He asks people who are in big oil to basically tell him what it is that they want and give him money, and he will do it, which means that Black men who live in cancer alleys are going to be subjected to the types of pollution that billionaires love to get away with. And so when we're talking about the fact that his Project 2025, according to economists, including economists at the Wharton Business School where he attended, have said that his economic plan would cost over 3 million jobs and would threaten thousands of clean energy jobs and would increase the debt by $5 trillion. We don't think that's going to impact Black men. We think Black men's going to they're just not going to be impacted by that. And so I want to encourage us, because today is National Voter Registration Day. If you are a Black man, if you love a Black man, let's think about how we present these issues in a way that speak to them, because we don't have time to be asking people to be making leaps. I know people are like, well, you shouldn't be lazy. You should be doing your own research. You should be figuring these things out. Yeah. That's fine. We can do that on another time. Right now, we ain't got time. We got to make it as simple and as easy as possible for people to understand what is happening and how it impacts them. Because I'm telling you, I'm seeing, sometimes I take a trip over into non-politically active Twitter or non-politically active TikTok, and it's some people who don't even know that Donald Trump got a new running mate. It's some people who don't know that J.D. Vance, it's not, what was Donald Trump's over Mike? They don't know that it's not Trump and Pence. There are people who just do not, and we are not here to judge. We are here to vote, and we're here to make sure that people are able to do what is necessary so that we can secure the resources. And here's what I didn't say last night, but I wish I had, because I was just driving. My emotions were a little too hot. I was just trying to get too much out. But what I didn't say last night, but I needed to, and I'm going to say it here. Politics, brothers, it ain't that deep. Sister, it ain't that deep. Politics is just the who, what, where, how, and why of what you get. right? Politics is the science of distributing resources. What are the resources? Schools, be they good or bad. Hospitals, be they good or bad. Access to medical care, be it good or bad. Libraries, be it good or bad. Access to housing, be it good housing or bad housing. Access to job opportunity, be they good jobs or bad jobs. Those are the resources. Clean water, groceries. Those are the resources that politicians we hire to determine how to distribute. So when we go to vote, we ain't falling in love. We ain't picking a baby father or baby mother. We ain't doing none of that. We are literally picking the people who will get to make the decisions about who gets those resources, how they get those resources, when they get those resources, and why. So when the white community is getting access to all the good benefits and the black community ain't getting nothing, those are political decisions. And so if politics is just the science of distributing resources and politicians are just the people that we hire to make the resource distribution decisions, well, then what we also have to be clear about, brothers, this is a zero-sum game, darling. Don't nobody really care if we don't show up, because what the white people and people who benefit from us staying home are going to do is they are going to pick the people who will be making those decisions. And so what we have to ask ourselves is, do we want the Nazis deciding who gets the hospitals? You want the Proud Boys? You want Moms for Liberty deciding what education looks like for our kids? You want the people who can't stand our black asses deciding who's going to get access to roads and infrastructure and transportation? You want the people who hate us and who descended from people who for hundreds of years have trained themselves to despise us? You want them picking our police apparatus? That's who you want? Because that's what happens. And so when it comes to how we engage on today, National Voter Registration Day, I just need us to make sure that how we're talking and how we're communicating is curated for the audience that we are in front of. Because frankly, a lot of times we say a whole lot of words, but if it's not landing, it's not landing. If I were to have this entire conversation in German or in Spanish, and my audience don't speak German or Spanish, yeah, I'm saying the right things, but I'm not speaking it in the language that you can receive. And that's what I want us to really focus on. We got 49 days. We got 49 days to make this real easy for people, because at the end of the day, ain't that much organizing gonna get you housing. Ain't that much organizing gonna get you housing. They've been protesting and organizing for 11 days about what's happening internationally. Not a whole lot of movement there. We as a community cannot sustain leadership that is selected by the white nationalists. We as a community do not have the ability to absorb the harm that we will be subjected to if the leaders, the people who get to make the resource allocation decisions, are people who can't stand us. Ain't that much organizing in the world. Ain't that much mutual aid in the world when you are fighting up against empire. And baby, we are a part of the empire. And so this ain't about loving elected officials. It ain't even about loving their policies. It's about asking which of these two candidates who are on the ballot, not the people that you wish were on the ballot, because the people you wish were on the ballot ain't going to be able to make these decisions. That's why a lot of you wasting your votes on third-party candidates. Not at the presidential level. Do that locally. You want to be third-party? Do third-party locally. Let us know how it works out. You might be in a place like I am in New York City where I vote the third party, Working Families Party, is thebomb.com. You might be in that space. But when it comes to the presidency, since only one of the two candidates is going to win, we ask ourselves, of the people on the ballot, which of these candidates is going to distribute resources in a way that either benefits our community the most or harms our community the least? And that's the message that I want to leave us with when it comes to voter registration day. Now, to be clear, again, ain't none of these parties going to create Wakanda. I see some debate in the conversation. Neither the Democrats nor ain't nobody gonna go in there and vote for the Democrats and come back out and be living in vibranium protected Wakanda talking about Wakanda forever. Like, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. And that's not why we vote. I heard Maurice Mitchell say last night, shout out to that brother. He said a lot of us approach the ballot as if the election is the prize. The election ain't the prize. Governance is the prize. And going into vote, that ain't the sexy part. You know what's sexy? Controlling the shit in your community. That's sexy. You know what's sexy? Being able to control who's getting resources. Full bellies are sexy. Everybody getting housed. That shit is sexy as fuck. You know what's really sexy? When our kids can go to school and learn. That shit is sexy. But the election ain't the prize. We don't go into the voting booth as if that's the moment. Governance, baby, is the prize. Control over the resources in our community is the prize. And they all gonna be screwed up in some way. I live in New York City. Right now, we have a Democratic governor and a Democratic mayor. And if you've been watching, you know that they ain't building Wakanda. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, out of the candidates on the ballot, which of these candidates are going to benefit us the most or harm us the least? And fortunately, we get a chance to vote again in New York City. We'll talk more about the current mayoral situation at another time. So we got to go to commercial break. 866-801-8255. 866-801-TALK is the number. The question for this moment is, Black men, what is it that you need to hear? Not what you, because I know Urban View, I know y'all voting. But what is it that the people, the brothers in your community, what is it that they need to hear in order for you to be able to meet them where they're at? Because we can't be asking people to meet us over here. We got to go to where they at and meet them there. What is it that you're hearing? What are the concerns that you're hearing? Let's crowdsource some solutions, because what we cannot have happen is we abstain from this election and then the Nazis get to pick the police chief, and the Nazis get to pick the school's chancellor, and the Nazis, the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, the Proud Boys, the Grand Dragon we can't let that part happen. And for everybody who's saying they're not going to vote, what's your solution? Where are you going when the Nazis and the Klan pick all the leaders? Where are you? What resources are you going to have? Because maybe you know something we don't. Maybe you got a whole community. And if you have this, then you don't need to vote. If you have a community where you are able to grow your own food, clean your own water, send your own mail, protect your own cells, build your own hospitals, create your own police forces, and all the other things that government does. If you have a space where you can do that independently, then yeah, you don't need to vote. You should let us know where that place is, though, because we're coming. we're coming over there. But the reality is, a lot of people saying that they're not going to vote don't have that. In fact, you don't have it, whether you're saying you're going to vote or not. So let's be mindful. Let's be very demure. Let's be very cutesy and get our big old lovely black asses on down to the registration. It's National Voter Registration Day. 866-801-8255. 866-801-TALK is the number. Brothers, what do you need to hear? That's what I want to know, because I want to make sure I'm hitting it. I want to make sure that we are being effective. We can't just be talking on Urban View just to talk. I want to make sure that we are being effective.